to diagnose the market and industry and the company, right? You need to diagnose market, industry, and the company, right? Those diagnose the factors will be transferred to SWOT, right? So before SWOT, photospike process pedestal, this is the way of your analyzing macro environment, and this one is diagnosing the industry. And stakeholder theory, chapter bottom line, you may choose either one. You don't need to describe, you don't need to choose two, right? You need to choose either one and explain about whether their strategy is within the stakeholder theory or triple bottom line. You need to explain about their strategy at the time they are doing it, the body shop was doing, right? If you don't understand, please ask me now. If you read the print, there's some writing whether the company has chosen the strategy that was based on stakeholder theory, or they choose the strategy based on triple bottom line. You may use these two theories to identify what are their strategy at the time, right? You need to understand. Some students still don't understand what I already explained 3 times, is that until Vario, you need to analyze what the body shop did and what was the market situation at the time, what are the forces influencing in the industry at that time. That's the thing what you need to find out, right? Question? If you're not clear, please clarify during the class. Okay. Because if you're not fully understand, you cannot make a good report, right? To here, you need to diagnose. This is the external environment, and the variable is your internal strategy at the time they are doing it, right? Variable is to find the strength and the weaknesses of the body shop at that time. That is written at your case, right? Don't use any external resources to find these, okay? Some students research and find something else outside, but don't use that. I want to make clear that why we need to follow this guideline is that the school doesn't want you to dig deeper. They don't want you to dig deeper, right? They want to know whether you can use these tools to analyze the situation, analyze the company's strength weakness, and what other options can you find it out. That's very simple. Don't try to go deeper by using too much of external resources, right? Just to show, I can use this tool, I can analyze by using these tools, and I can suggest some strategic options. That is the main purpose of this study, right? So when you find the external resources, that is the thing to support what you want to say. So you find the ethical brand power. You think that is the strength, but that is your thinking, right? So nobody wants to listen to you. So you need to find somebody who are very popular and the history is very strong. Then use their name and their article to matching with your idea. I think this is the strength of the company because some scholar, Potter, say the ethical brand power is the strength of the company. That they said, they found that affected the company's operation positively. So you find that external resources to support your writing. Okay? Next one. The elements you found from here that should be transferred to SWOT. Okay? You diagnose and you find all the elements in that thing. Then move that to SWOT. Okay? Move that to SWOT. Don't mention anything that you didn't find into SWOT, okay? Oh, I think this can be the theme of the strength. So you just simply put into SWOT? No. You need to do this diagnosis and you need to transfer those elements into SWOT, okay? Don't find something new. You need to find these elements from the print, okay? After you find the SWOT, then you move on. Based on this, what strategies did the body shop chose? You need to explain that. What were their strategy at the time they operate, right? So until here, you are explaining what the body shop did. Okay? You explain what body shop did up to here, up to strategy club or purpose generic strategy. Up to here, you need to find what the body shop did, right? And based on SWOT, you need to transfer to pose. And now you need to suggest your options. You know what I mean? You need to suggest your strategy that can be different from their strategy at the time. Okay? Don't propose, don't find any suggestion that is the same to the strategy that you found from Strategy Club or Potter's generic strategy. Okay? The reason why you need to do this is to find whether any of your strategy choices can be overlapped to delete it. Because they choose that strategic option, that's why they fail. Right? So you need to suggest different one from your own combination of SWOT. Okay? Any questions over here? Any questions? Any questions? If you're not clear, please ask questions today. Any question? No? Any question? You understand what I mean? Any question? So, will you explain one more time?
So, I see that varietal is used to define internal strength and weakness of the body shop, and you should not use external things. You just use external resources to justify why there are strengths and weaknesses. And you will analyze the body shop from qualified forces to strategy card and start suggest strategies from toes.
All right. which theory or framework are you finding out what body shop did?
From quantified forces to strategy club.
Right, that's good. So from pose, you need to suggest your strategy, choices, right? You need to combine SWOT that is transferred to the pose. Okay? I already checked 3 drafts of you guys, but they always have the same problem. They diagnose it here, but when they transfer all the information into SWOT, they suddenly find something else they didn't talk anything about during this time. You understand? If you find some elements from here and you didn't write anything about it, please don't include here. Okay? The element you find has to be moved to the SWOT. Right? Don't add anything after when you finish this diagnosis. You find the elements after the diagnosis, right? You find your own opportunities, threats, strength, and weaknesses, right? Just transfer those informations into the SWOT. Don't create new out of your finding, okay? But you do. Why? Because you are using ChatGPT. If you use ChatGPT, they create something new when you transfer your finding into SWOT. Right? Because don't trust the chatbot. They always do. And I can notice you use ChatGPT. You copy and paste the ChatGPT regions. That's the way I can find you use the ChatGPT to copy and paste. Right? Please don't do that. You need to check whether anything new suddenly appeared in SWOT. Right? And you will find you need to describe what strategy did the body shop chose. Right? So, do you need to choose the same strategic option to this? No, right? Because body shop failed because they choose this strategy. Or they couldn't execute properly, right? So, you need to add the information of SWOT to pose table, right? You transfer all the elements you found here and transfer to pose. Okay? You need to find pose by transferring all the information indicated in the SWOT. Okay? You make the pose table, right? When you find the SWOT and you describe all the elements of the SWOT, this exactly same thing has to go here, right? While you're transferring, you add something new. Don't add, right? Don't add. But I keep talking about this over and over again, but some of you will add here when you transfer, definitely, because you will use ChatGPT. Because you're gonna use chatbot. Chatbot always adds something in addition to this. There's no way you can prohibit it. You understand? Even you using the up-to-date prompt, you cannot prevent this from happening. Right? Don't add anything. You just transfer this to here, and this to here, this to here, this to here. Right? Any question? It's very simple, right? Don't create. You don't have to use your brain. Just move it here. Move that box. That's it. But some of you will create new, and there's suddenly this 1, 2, 3, 4. Here you only find 3, but suddenly you have 4. You think you will not do this, right? But some of you will do this because you don't listen to me during the class, right? So here you can choose either one, pause or answer. That's your choice. Okay, that's your choice. But as you see, you find the swap and the move to the pause is much easier, right? But if you move this swap to unsolved, you need to change it a little bit. Then you need to give the justifications why you do that, why you are doing it, right? Without explanation, you just simply change it. That cannot be acceptable because that's not consistent, right? And once you find strategic options, now you move to the safe tool. Now you chose the strategic options, right? You find your own suggestions, recommendations, and you need to move this to safe table. Right? So you move to this. You need to move to here, right? But suddenly, some of you will write something new here that you never discussed here. You may say, teacher, we are not that stupid. But sometimes you go stupid. And do you know what the percent, can you guess how much percentage you made this kind of error to create you when you transfer here? That from previous semester, more than 80% to that. I explained over 5 times like I'm doing here. You just said, oh, we don't do that. But when after your submitting, when I read your report, more than 80% of students do that. That's why I keep talking to you, don't do that. Right? So, as you know, as you learn ESG last class, when you give the score, you need to apply ESG lens to the options. Whether your option is aligned with the ESG standard, you need to add that factor when you give the score. And when you give the score, you need to justify it. You need to give the reasons why you give that score. Right? How does that fit to the suitability? How does that fit to the acceptability? How does that fit to the feasibility? You cannot give the score with your feeling. Okay? You need to set certain rubric to give the score. And you need to explain it. Why I give this score. Right? So, any questions?